powerful about a mind that refuses to be shaken, a mind that is anchored in peace, even in the midst of chaos, a mind that has been trained to remain calm when everything around it screams for panic. This is not a natural ability, it is a discipline that requires intention, practice, and surrender. The world will try to tell you that your reactions are out of your control, that fear is automatic, that anxiety is unavoidable, that worry is your portion. But I came to tell you today that there is a different way to live. There is a way to walk through life and not be consumed by the storms. There is a way to hear bad news and not crumble. There is a way to experience loss and still stand. Peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of power. It is the quiet confidence that whispers, I will not be moved. It is the stillness that says, I know who I am and I know whose I am, but this peace does not come by accident. It does not come from hoping. It does not come from wishing. It comes from training. Training your mind to be calm in every situation. You don't wait for a storm to start building your shelter. You don't wait for the battle to learn how to fight. And in the same way, you don't wait for trouble to come before you train your mind to be calm. The time to prepare is now. The time to strengthen your mind is now. The time to shift your mindset is now, because life will come at you. Unexpected circumstances will knock on your door. Disappointments will try to shake you. But if your mind has been trained, if your spirit has been fortified, then nothing will be able to break you. The more you practice peace, the stronger it becomes. The more you choose peace, the more natural it feels. It is not something that just happens. It is something you build, protect, and strengthen every day. And the more you commit to cultivating peace within yourself, the less you will be shaken by what happens around you. It looks like you only provided 5 keynotes earlier. Would you like me to create a 6th keynote for you, or would you like me to expand on another topic? Let me know how you like to proceed. Mastering the art of a calm mind is not an overnight transformation. It is a daily discipline, a commitment to yourself, and a decision to rise above the noise of life. It is an understanding that true strength is not found in reacting to every situation, but in choosing how you respond. It is recognizing that peace is not something you chase, it is something you cultivate. When you guard your thoughts, master your reactions, embrace stillness, take authority over your mind, and intentionally build peace, you create a life that is unshaken by circumstances. The world will always give you reasons to worry, to doubt, to fear, but you are not called to be controlled by what happens around you. You have the power to create an atmosphere of peace within yourself. You have the ability to remain steady in the face of uncertainty. You have the ability to remain ready in the face of uncertainty. You have the strength to rise above emotions that try to pull you down. And the more you train your mind to be calm, the more you will realize that peace was never outside of you. It was always within you. No matter what comes your way, remember this. You are stronger than your emotions, greater than your circumstances, and fully capable of handling whatever life brings. Keep training your mind, keep choosing peace. There's something about pain that makes us crave validation. When someone wounds us, betrays us, or leaves us broken, there's a part of us that believes healing can't fully come unless they acknowledge what they did. We wait, we hope, we replay the scenarios in our heads, imagining them finally realizing the damage they caused. We tell ourselves that if they could just admit it, if they could just say the words we need to hear, then maybe, just maybe, the weight in our chest would finally lift. But what happens when that apology never comes? What happens when they move on like nothing happened while you're left picking up the pieces? What happens when they never acknowledge the sleepless nights you endured, the silent tears you cried, or the battles you fought just to make it through the day? If healing was dependent on their remorse, then your freedom would forever be in their hands. And that's a dangerous place, because if your ability to move forward is tied to their willingness to admit their wrongs, then you're giving them power they should have never had in the first place. You have to take your power back. You have to decide that your healing is a personal journey, not a shared responsibility. You have to realize that waiting for an apology is only delaying the freedom that has always been yours to claim. Because the truth is, some people will never see the damage they caused. Some will never acknowledge the weight of their actions. Some will never take responsibility, not because you didn't deserve it, but because they're incapable of doing so. And if you spend your life waiting on what may never come, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle of pain that has nothing to do with what they did and everything to do with your unwillingness to release it. So let it go. Not because they were right, not because what they did was okay, not because you deserved it, but because you deserve peace more than you deserve an explanation. You deserve joy more than you deserve justice. You deserve wholeness more than you deserve their regret. Because healing is not about them, it's about you. It's about you. It's about choosing to rise above what was meant to keep you bound. It's about choosing to step into a future that is no longer controlled by the actions of someone who didn't value you properly. There's power in release. There's strength in moving on. And there is freedom in understanding that closure is not something they can give you. It's something you give yourself. It's easy to think that pain is some kind of punishment, that the heartbreak, the betrayal, the disappointment are signs that something is wrong with you. You start questioning everything, your words, your choices, your path. You wonder why it had to happen to you, why the people you trusted the most were the ones who caused the deepest wounds. You look at your life and see the cracks, the broken places, and you start believing that maybe you did something to deserve this. But what if the pain isn't punishment? What if it's positioning? See, when something painful happens, the first instinct is to resist it, to cry out, to ask why, to beg for the struggle to end. But what if the very thing you're trying to escape is actually shaping you into the person you were always meant to be? What if the setback was really a setup? What if what felt like destruction was actually divine redirection? Think about it. Every person who has ever walked in purpose, who has ever reached new heights, who has ever transformed into someone greater, has walked through pain to get there. Every victory has a battle behind it. Every strength has a struggle that came before it. Every moment of greatness is preceded by a moment of breaking. Pain has a way of positioning you in places you never would have stepped into on your own. It removes people who were never meant to go with you into your next season. It forces you to confront things about yourself that you would have ignored if life had stayed comfortable. It strengthens you in ways that easy seasons never could. Think back to the things that almost broke you, the moments that shook you, that made you feel like you wouldn't survive, and yet here you are, stronger, wiser, more aware. That wasn't punishment, that was preparation. That wasn't rejection, that was refinement. That wasn't the end of you, that was the beginning of something greater. Because the pain didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. It forced you to grow. It forced you to trust. It forced you to let go of what was never meant to stay. It stripped away the things that couldn't go where you were headed. And even though it hurt, even though it felt unfair, even though it left you questioning everything, it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to develop you. Pain is not the enemy, it's the process. It's the fire that burns away the things that no longer serve you. It's the storm that shakes loose the dead weight. It's the breaking that makes room for the breakthrough. So don't waste time thinking you are being punished. Don't sit in the sorrow believing that life has been unfair to you. Don't stay stuck in the pain when you were meant to rise from it. Stand up, wipe your tears, and recognize that what was meant to break you has only built you. What was meant to crush you has only created you. What felt like the end was actually the beginning. Holding on feels safe. It feels familiar. Even when it hurts, even when it drains you, there's something about keeping the past close that makes you believe you're protecting yourself. You replay the conversations, you hold on to the offense, you keep the memories fresh, because a part of you believes that if you release it, you're letting them off the hook. If you let go, you're saying it didn't matter. If you move on, it means it didn't hurt as bad as it did. But holding on isn't healing you, it's holding you hostage. You think you're keeping control, but in reality, it's controlling you. You think you're guarding yourself, but really you're guarding your wounds, keeping them from ever fully closing, because the truth is you can't hold on to the past and reach for the future at the same time. Something has to give. Growth demands release. You cannot grow if your hands are still clinging to what broke you. You cannot heal if your heart is still rehearsing the pain. You cannot move forward while constantly looking back. Think about it. How much energy have you spent carrying things that are too heavy for this season? How much peace have you sacrificed just to hold on to a grudge? How many opportunities have passed you by because you were too busy staring at what didn't work out? Letting go isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a declaration that you refuse to be bound by what was. It's a decision to free yourself from the weight of what you can't change. It's trusting that what's ahead is greater than what's behind you. Because if it was meant to stay, it would have stayed. If they were meant to be in your life, they would still be here. If the door was supposed to remain open, it wouldn't have closed. What's gone is gone, what's done is done, and nothing you do, nothing you say, no amount of regret or resentment will rewrite the past. So why keep carrying it? Why keep feeding what can no longer serve you? Why keep reliving a season that has already expired? You were meant to evolve. You were meant to grow beyond what hurt you. You were meant to step into newness, into wholeness, into freedom. But you can't do that if you're still gripping the very thing that's been weighing you down. Loosen your grip, release the bitterness, release the regret, release the anger, not because they deserve it, but because you do, because you deserve peace, you deserve joy, you deserve to move on without carrying the burden of what happened. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the pain didn't matter. It simply means you refuse to let it define you any longer. It means you're making space for what's next. It means you're choosing to grow beyond the past, to step into something new, something fresh, something better than you ever imagined. Because what's coming requires empty hands. And if you want to receive it, you have to be willing to let go. There's something about injustice that makes you want to fight back. When someone wounds you, betrays you, or mistreats you, there's a natural desire to make sure they feel what they made you feel. You want them to understand the pain they caused. You want them to be held accountable. You want to see justice, and you want it now. But justice is not your responsibility. Carrying that weight, carrying that expectation, carrying that need for things to be made right will only keep you bound to what hurt you. And the longer you hold on to it, the longer you stay connected to the pain. Revenge, resentment, and bitterness are heavy. They will drain you. They will exhaust you, and they will keep you locked in a cycle that prevents you from moving forward. You think you're fighting for justice, but really you're fighting for control. You want to control the outcome. You want to control how the story ends. You want to control when and how they pay for what they did. But that's not your job. That's not your fight. Your job is healing. Your job is growth. Your job is to move forward with strength, grace, and resilience, because the truth is, no matter how much you think about it, no matter how much you replay the situation in your head, no matter how much you wish things had gone differently, you can't change what happened. You can't undo the betrayal. You can't rewrite the past. You can't force someone to feel sorry when they refuse to acknowledge their wrongs. So why waste another second waiting for justice that may never come the way you expect? Every minute you spend hoping they suffer is another minute you're not investing in your own healing. Every moment you spend trying to make sense of their actions is another moment you're delaying your own breakthrough. Every ounce of energy you pour into hoping they get what they deserve is energy that could be fueling your next level. And what if the real justice isn't in their downfall? What if the real justice is in your rise? What if the greatest revenge isn't in watching them suffer, but in watching yourself succeed despite what they did? There is nothing more powerful than seeing someone who was meant to be broken rise up stronger than ever. There is nothing more victorious than watching someone walk in joy, in purpose, in wholeness. Even after being wronged, that's the kind of justice you should be focused on. Not the kind that waits for them to fail, but the kind that ensures you win. The kind that refuses to let what they did define you. The kind that says, I will not be held hostage by what I cannot control. You have too much purpose, too much potential, too much greatness ahead of you to waste time chasing down justice that isn't yours to handle. Let it go. Let them go. Trust that everything will fall into place exactly as it's meant to. And in the meantime, focus on becoming the best, the strongest, the most healed version of yourself. That is where true justice is found. That is where freedom lives. That is where you reclaim your power. It's so easy to get stuck in what was, to look back at the past, at the pain, at the disappointment, and let it convince you that your best days are behind you. You carry the weight of everything that went wrong, every failure, every heartbreak, every time life didn't turn out the way you thought it would. And without even realizing it, you start believing that maybe this is it. Maybe this is as far as you go. Maybe what happened back then has already determined how the rest of your life will unfold. But that's a lie. Your future is bigger than your past. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. And as long as you're still breathing, as long as you still have life inside of you, then that means there is still more for you to do, more for you to see, more for you to become. What happened in the past was real. The pain was real. The loss was real. The betrayal, the setback, the disappointments, it was all real. But it was never meant to be your final destination. It was never meant to be the thing that defines the rest of your life. It was a chapter, not the whole book. And you cannot afford to live the rest of your life as if the last chapter was the end of your story. Think about it. If you keep looking back, how can you ever move forward? If you keep replaying the past, how can you ever step into the future? If you keep dwelling on what didn't work out, how will you ever make room for what's still coming? You have to make a decision. You have to choose to believe that there is still more ahead of you. You have to stop letting what happened back then steal the beauty of what's available right now. You have to stop giving so much power to your past that it keeps you from stepping into the new things that were meant for you, because the past cannot be changed. No matter how much you think about it, no matter how much you wish it had gone differently, no matter how much you regret certain decisions, you cannot go back and fix it. But what you can do is decide that your past will not rob you of your future. You are not who you used to be. The things that once broke you no longer have the power to define you. The places where you once struggled are not an indication of where you're headed next. Just because you failed back then doesn't mean you will fail again. Just because you were hurt back then doesn't mean you will be hurt again. Just because life didn't go as planned before doesn't mean you won't see victory in the days ahead. But you have to believe it. You have to wake up every day and remind yourself that your future is bigger than your past. You have to stop feeding the memories that keep you trapped in cycles of pain. You have to break free from the mindset that tells you nothing good can come after what you've been through, because something good is coming. Something better is ahead, but you'll never step into it if you keep looking back. You'll never experience it if you keep holding on to what was. You have to let go. You have to make room for new things. You have to walk like someone who believes that their best days are still ahead of them, because they are. And when you finally step into what's waiting for you, you'll realize that everything you left behind was never meant to hold you back. It was meant to set you up for something greater. There's something about being hurt that makes you crave an apology. You replay the pain, the betrayal, the way they walked away without a second thought, and you tell yourself that healing can't fully come until they acknowledge what they did. You wait for the apology, believing that when they finally say, "I'm sorry," the weight in your chest will lift, the pain will fade, and you'll be able to move forward. But what if that apology never comes? What if they never take responsibility? What if they never admit the damage they caused? What if they never acknowledge the sleepless nights, the silent tears, the battles you fought just to make it through? Does that mean you're destined to carry this pain forever? Absolutely not, because healing is not dependent on their apology. Healing is a decision you make, not a gift they can give you. If your freedom was tied to their remorse, then your peace would always be in someone else's hands, and that's not where it belongs. You have to take your power back. Some people will never see their wrongdoing. Some will never acknowledge the hurt they caused. Some will continue living their lives as if they didn't leave you broken. And if you keep waiting for them to apologize, you'll waste years of your life in a prison of pain that they aren't even thinking about. Let that sink in. While you're carrying the weight of what they did, they're moving on. While you're stuck in the past, they're living their life. While you're waiting for closure, they're not even considering what you need. So why give them that kind of power? Why keep yourself bound to something that no longer serves you? Your healing is your responsibility. It is your choice. It is your journey. And the moment you decide that you don't need their apology to move forward, you set yourself free. Letting go doesn't mean they were right. It doesn't mean what they did was okay. It doesn't mean you deserved it. It simply means you refuse to let it control you any longer. You deserve peace more than you deserve an explanation. You deserve joy more than you deserve their regret. You deserve healing more than you deserve justice, because real closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. It comes when you decide to release the pain, not because they said the right words, but because you are choosing yourself. You are choosing to heal. You are choosing to no longer be defined by what they did. And that's a powerful place to be, because when you stop waiting for them to fix what they broke, you step into a place of true freedom, a place where their actions no longer have the ability to dictate your future. A place where you are no longer tied to the hurt, the betrayal, the disappointment. A place where you can move forward in peace, knowing that nothing they did can hold you back unless you allow it. So make the decision today. Decide that your healing is not dependent on their apology. Choose to walk in freedom. Choose to release the weight. Choose to step into a future that is no longer controlled by the actions of someone who didn't value you properly, because they don't hold your healing, you do. And the moment you recognize that is the moment you finally become free. Pain has a way of making you question everything. It makes you wonder if you'll ever feel whole again, if you'll ever trust again, if you'll ever truly move past what happened. The weight of what you've been through tries to convince you that your best days are behind you, that the damage is too deep, that the brokenness is too great. You look at yourself and see the scars, the remnants of the battles you didn't ask to fight, and you wonder if anything good can still come from all of this. But here's what you need to know. Nothing you've been through will be wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the betrayal, not the moments when you felt like giving up, not the nights you cried yourself to sleep, not the disappointments that shattered your expectations. None of it was in vain, because everything you've been through is working together for something greater. Every tear you cried was watering the soil of your future. Every time you kept pushing forward when you felt like quitting was building resilience inside of you. Every wound that once felt unbearable is now proof of your strength, a reminder that you survived what was meant to destroy you. You are not the same person you were before the pain. And that's the point. Pain refines you. It strips away the things that can't go with you into your next season. It removes the distractions. It shifts your focus. It forces you to see what truly matters. And most importantly, it equips you. Because what you went through wasn't just about you. Somebody else needs your story. Somebody else needs to see how you overcame. Somebody else needs to know that survival is possible, that healing is real, that hope still exists. And you, with all of your scars, with all of your lessons, with all of your experiences, are the proof. There is nothing wasted, not a single moment, not a single season. Even the pain you thought would break you is being used to build you. The closed doors, the disappointments, the people who left, the things that didn't work out, all of it was preparation. It was making room for something better, something stronger, something that aligns with who you were always meant to become. But you have to see it that way. You have to shift your perspective. You have to stop looking at your past as if it was a mistake and start seeing it as part of the plan. You have to stop focusing on what you lost and start preparing for what's coming. You have to stop dwelling on who hurt you and start recognizing how much you've grown. Because your pain didn't break you, it built you. It didn't end you, it elevated you. It didn't define you, it refined you. And now you get to take all of that, every lesson, every scar, every piece of wisdom, and use it to step into something greater. You get to stand tall, knowing that you are stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. You get to walk forward, not as someone who barely survived, but as someone who is thriving because of what they went through. So don't waste your pain. Don't sit in regret. Don't keep looking at your past like it was a detour. It wasn't. It was preparation. It was necessary. It was all leading you here to this moment, to this version of yourself that is ready for everything that's coming next. And trust me, what's coming is better than what's been. You have carried the weight of pain, of betrayal, of disappointment, and for so long you have wondered if you would ever truly heal. But healing is not in their apology. Freedom is not in their regret. Justice is not in your hands. Everything you have been through, the moments that shattered you, the nights you questioned your worth, the battles you never asked to fight, none of it was wasted. Every tear, every struggle, every heartbreak was shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for the future that is bigger than your past. You do not have to stay bound to what broke you. You do not have to hold on to what was never meant to last. You are not defined by who hurt you, by what didn't work out, by the pain that tried to bury you. You are stronger, you are wiser, you are walking into a future that will make sense of everything that didn't before. Let go of waiting for closure. Let go of waiting for justice. Let go of waiting for an apology that may never come. Choose yourself. Choose your healing. Choose to believe that what's ahead is worth far more than what's behind. Your story isn't over. Your best days are still to come. And when you finally step into what's waiting for you, you'll realize that everything that tried to break you only built you into the person you were always meant to become. You are free. You are whole, and your next chapter begins. Keep walking in the calm confidence that nothing has the power to shake you unless you give it permission.